Let me tell you a story. What's so you asking that? I have no idea where I've woken up at or why I'm suddenly very pregnant. There's a VHS tape that's trying to convince me the man in the living room is my husband, and it's been 3 years. I told the patient his penis and testicles would need to be amputated due to cancer. I know I'm risking losing my medical license, but I just can't let that bastard get away with what he had done to my daughter. I caught my celebrity boyfriend cheating on me with my best friend. As I tied both of them up, each claimed to not know who I was, as if I'd believed such an obvious lie. I was able to convince my daughter that her glow-up sneakers wouldn't make her a target. But when I saw her on the news today, I realized she didn't mean bullying. While our dad was sick and bedridden, our dog would never leave his side by the bed, no matter what. When our dad made a miraculous recovery, which astonished his doctors, we all slept that night with relief and peace. However, the next morning, we found out that our dog didn't make it through the night. I always wanted to have a baby, but I never desired twins. I was unhappy until I remembered my sewing instructor used to always say, "Beautiful things are made one stitch at a time." When I was little, my mother always warned us about traffic. Now that my sister's missing, I realize she wasn't talking about cars. After the adults had successfully used the teleportation service for 5,000 times, a child was sent through it. After the child disappeared on one side, a note appeared on the other side that read, "Second payment received. You can perform 5,000 more teleportations." My dad, who had just passed from a long battle with dementia, always claimed that they were listening to him. While cleaning out his house to sell, I've come across several listening devices hidden amongst his belongings. When I got home and saw my boyfriend laying dead on the floor with a suicide note next to him, the grocery bags fell out of my hands. A deep joy ran through me, and I began to grin when I saw that gaslighting had finally paid off. These blossoms are incredible because you really only see them growing over graves, my mother-in-law said. I thanked her for her compliment to my gardening skill as I continue to pass out missing person flyers for my wife to our friends and family. yanked under the bed. The girl had no time to scream before the monster's clawed hand covered her mouth. "Be quiet," it whispered in her ear as the masked man entered the room, her parents' blood dripping from his knife. "Ma'am, you'll be pleased to know we found your daughter safe and healthy," said the sheriff's deputy. "Our Back to Blue campaign is still $10,000 short of our monthly goal. So once you've helped us out, we can bring little Sophie home." This evening, my husband sent me a text asking if I was okay because he had a bad feeling, and I thought that was so sweet. But since then, I've gotten similar texts from everyone I know, and I'm starting to get worried. My platoon leader told me not to stop and to just keep driving right before we hit some bumps on the road. We didn't know if the kids on the road was for an ambush, and we couldn't take the chance. I absolutely detest children, so much so that people in my neighborhood believed I was a kid killer. So I was pretty surprised when my neighbors asked me to babysit their disabled son. I didn't think my husband's obsession with The Godfather would be that big of an issue, since there are no horses for miles. It seems I was wrong, and he just used the dog instead. I grabbed my girlfriend's hand and started to pray as I realized I couldn't stop the car from swerving into oncoming traffic. My girlfriend's eyes turned black as she looked at me while whispering, "Prayers can't help you. You sold your soul, baby. This is fate." As the autopsy of my body began, I screamed, "Wait, I'm not dead." "We know," the medical examiner said, smiling. I told my family to cremate me when I die. Clawing at my coffin while dirt seeps onto me, I can only feel a bit of anger for those cheapskates. I watched as the last child tried the basement door and realized it was never locked. His face twisted as the realization came over him that he never actually had to kill his friends. Mom said if I took 2 ibuprofen, my headache will be gone in an hour. I'm getting better at math, so I know that if I finish the bottle, it will be gone in a minute. When my little boy asked to play cops and robbers with me, I let him be the cop. I wish I had noticed sooner that it wasn't a toy gun he was holding. In the span of a year, Sarah's car had been vandalized, her dog had been ran over, and now she stared at the lifeless body of her infant son, face down in the bathtub. Remorse almost creeped in until she thought about how much social media sympathy this new tragedy would get her. I made a promise never to drink again after my wife died. Lucky for me, they don't serve alcohol in prison, so it wasn't a hard promise to keep. Eat your dinner. There are starving children in underdeveloped countries. This time, I will heed my mother's warning, because the last time I tried to save my food to give to the neighbor in our basement, she locked me in my own room without food for 3 days. Every other Monday, I check my daughter's weight to make sure her diet is working. Since I won custody, she has finally regained some weight. But weekends with Mom are always a setback. My girlfriend told me it was time to meet her family. Gagged and bound, staring at the naked females dancing in front of the fire, I could only assume she didn't want long-term commitment. My current girlfriend started giving me attitude when she saw my ex-girlfriend calling my phone just now. Baby, I promise you, I buried her body over a year ago. It's a boy, the woman exclaimed. Another one for the pigs, then, said her husband, who had held me captive for the past 6 years. This doomsday spaceship will not take off unless all but 2 humans on Earth are dead. The last man stared in horror at his wife's swollen belly. And here's a bonus. For as long as I can remember, my father always takes me along to go hunting with him and his buddies. Remember, boy, the orange just makes it easier to see your target.